Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Founding the Future podcast. My name is Alden.
And I'm Lila Ray.
How was your month?
Oh, busy. Busy
Summer vacation is good, though.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Nice break.
I'm sure for like most churches in the area, it's VBS week all July, right?
You've been telling me about that, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Everyone in the area decides to have VBS.
Yeah. And you know, we're not the only busy ones. Communists are quite busy, which I think is quite a smooth segment into our topic for today, which is the rise of communism in America, which is quite scary.
Quite scary.
Yeah.
It's surprising to me how many like people in America how many people around our age, the young people, like advocate for it.
They think it's not even communism, it's more like the socialism, like
socialism,
democratic socialist, which we'll get into all that today.
Just like the precursor.
Yeah, it's just the same thing essentially. You're just advocating for the same idea.
The same thing.
Yeah. Well, essentially, communism is a big deal right now, and I think this is a real big issue that's happening because we have the midterms coming up, and there are many people who are advocating for various communist candidates and people who are running and people who are already in office who are self-proclaimed democratic socialists, and they have all these cool endorsements and whatever. But one of my favorite figures, actually, Speaker Mike Johnson, he keeps saying that it's now a battle of common sense versus crazy, but also common sense versus communism, because we have all these crazy people.
I feel like it's
coming up.
For a long time it's been common sense versus crazy.
yeah, it has been that for a long time, but for the sake of campaigning
watch out
and
when
stuff.
they start dyeing their hair blue.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really interesting because if we look at where communism, the rise of, I would say, like modern communism, because obviously we had, Red Scares and all that stuff that you learn in school, but really it's been starting, it started last year in 2025 election with Mamdani.
So bad they had us rooting for Cuomo. I can't believe it.
Yeah, they really did. I think one of the sticking points for me was, at the risk of sounding culturally insensitive or whatever, one of the sticking points for me was that at least Cuomo was an actual born American citizen.
Yeah.
He actually was an American, because I was looking at election results, and I found a poll, or not a, it's according to polls, but I found a story that said more of those who were born in New York City voted for Cuomo, 49%, than Mamdani, 38%. And then I also read somewhere else that basically the immigrant vote, people who are first generation, children of immigrants and whatnot, they decided the election. They were the ones, the foreigners essentially decided the election because they could vote, because when they got there, well, I don't know how many people have driver's licenses in New York City, but when you get your driver's license, you have the motor voter, so you're just registered to vote. Yeah. And these people who, I would hedge a bet, can barely speak English, just essentially vote for the guy who says that he wants communism.
Let's be honest, weren't we just talking about in the last episode voter ID, like how we wanted to, people don't even show their voter ID. Like, how hard is that? How hard is it to go down to the DMV? I mean, let's be honest. How many people that voted for Mamdani, how many of them do we even know if they were actually, like, legally able to vote? Do they don't ask for ID?
Yeah, well, that also just came out, too, is something came out. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but there are actually fraudulent votes that were found, that were made, that were cast by people who weren't citizens, and the amount of votes that they have supposedly found are more than Mamdani's margin of victory. So essentially, we can make the argument that if most of or if all of those votes were for Mamdani basically won the election on fraudulent votes, which, this is still allegedly, it hasn't been proven yet, but I mean, I have reason to believe that.
We're one of the world's, like, leading powers. How is it that we can't even... Yeah, the leading power. How the heck do we not even have, like, safe elections at this point? Our president was just talking about voter integrity.
Yeah, and I think something that you brought up when we were kind of contextualizing this issue that I thought was really interesting is that you were talking about how everybody calls him a radical Muslim, but he really isn't, because if you look at his positions and you look at his ideas, he's pro-LGBT, he is willing to wear a suit and tie and conform to some Western forms of tradition just to get the votes, but he really isn't a radical Muslim in the sense that he is praying 3 times a day, in the sense that he actually believes these stuff. Like, I don't know about his personal religious life, but he doesn't come off as the guy who would fit in well in Muslim countries.
I mean, really, he doesn't. And I love this. I love that topic because we talked about in one of our past episodes, I think it was 2 episodes ago, the Islamization of America. Yeah. I love talking about it because I love researching this whole topic. You could see me talk about this for hours, but the Quran, what was the point of having him put his hand on the Quran when he was sworn in? I mean, the Quran is not the book in which like our American values were founded in. I feel like we've always made a point because like we're going to talk about how it says God bless America in the what's up? Oh, I can't think of the word. I'm not technical. The place.
National. What?
Yes, the place where it says.
Oh, in God We
In God
Trust
We
is in the
Trust,
speaker's
yes.
rostrum in the Capitol. Yeah.
Yes, I can't think of terms right now. I've got a very, very busy, very busy. My brain is fried. We're going to talk about that, and I mean. Let's be honest. The reason why that was put in there was to make a statement. So I think it really is a statement when we have our elected officials sign in on God's word. Because let's look at our founding fathers. Most of them were self-proclaimed believers, and most of them followed the word in their government writings.
Yeah, and if you look into history, the Mayflower Compact is pretty much just explicitly Christian. We have a bunch of songs and hymns and prayers and just historical sayings where, it is their blatant petition to God. Yeah. They have blatant petition to God to found this country. It's essentially a Christian country. And so that's a pretty long digression. But anywho, I think it was really interesting that you brought up his kind of cultural placement because I think it speaks to the idea that leftism is actually, they're good at politics. They're necessarily good at politics because of the way that they've got
manipulation, more like.
Yes, but they've gotten to the point that they are at now because they know how to actually make coalitions. They say, okay, well, you have all these people who say, oh, we're LGBT for Palestine, trans for Palestine, and all that stuff, and then people made the point like, oh, well, you'd be killed in Iran. You'd be killed in Iraq. Like, yes, that's true, but they aren't in there. They're in America, and they both have kind of a same idea in mind where they kind of want the country to be leftist. And so obviously they'll fight out the smaller details when they get to that point. But for the sake of getting to that point now and winning elections and winning the culture, the trans people are going to partner up with the Muslims because they both have the same idea that they want to take the United States and take her fundamental values and just take it all away and just kind of make it all crumble. And I think that that's just really interesting too. But if we look into some the expansion of this communism in these coming midterm elections, which are coming up in less than 100 days, last Sunday marked the 100-day mark, so that's kind of interesting. If we look at Cut 4, we have New York's 13th district. We have Daria-Liza Avila Chevalier versus Adriano Espiat. So Espiat was the incumbent, and Chevalier beat out Espiat by about 4 points, which is insane because usually that doesn't really happen. Daria-Liza Avila Chevalier kind of took national attention because she has all of these crazy campaign promises like abolishing ICE and having health care for everybody. And she also became recently well known for her American flag comment. If we pull up Cut 2, she essentially said on Twitter a while ago, that's my fault. But essentially she said on Twitter a while ago that she just used the American flag as a napkin because she didn't have a napkin nearby. And that kind of went crazy. That gained national attention. So that's just how far left she is. And if we take a second and look at the incumbent Adriano Espiat's votes, I believe that's Cut 6. That kind of shows comparing his votes. That's the purple triangle. That compares his votes to all the other votes in the House. And you can see he's pretty far left. And the fact that somebody else who was more radical than him beat him out by 4 points in the primary, and he's already that radical, just shows you how far left the party really wants to go. Like if he's here, or if as far left as possible here, and he's here, well, they want somebody that's going to go here. And so they'll get that, especially in a district like New York. So that's New York 13.
I know. I mean, New York. There was I worked on the campaign of a Republican who ran for governor here, Lee Zeldin, who's currently, you know, we know what he's doing. Yeah, we know what he's doing. We don't even need to say. But he was very popular down here in New York, and he worked as hard as he could in the city. But no matter how hard you work in New York, it's like a brainwashed state. It's very sad. I love New York. But I don't know how we're ever going to get to the point where we can turn things around.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Blakeman's issue. Because Blakeman is now the new Republican nominee for New York governor. I think he's very well known on the island. He's very well known kind of in the city, but he's not very well liked.
Yeah.
So he's got to get more notoriety upstate, which I think is where he can kind of have a chance. If we look at another House district for the midterms, we have Brad Lander versus Dan Goldman. This is also a very popular race that's going on. Dan Goldman is the incumbent. He's a moderate Democrat. He is pro-Israel, and he himself is Jewish. So if we look at his voting graph, I believe that's cut 7. Again, this is Dan Goldman's voting record. And if you can see, it's actually quite far left. It is far left too. It's not very moderate. It's quite in the blues. Oh, cut 7. It's quite in the blue area. You know, again, you can see all the way over there, purple triangle. He's a little bit more to the right of Espaillat, but he is still pretty far left. And yet again, so, Brad Lander came up, and he was basically, he's also a Democrat socialist, and he has all these crazy endorsements from socialist organizations, and he did events with Mamdani himself, and he beat out Dan Goldman. So he beat out the incumbent too. Lander had some campaign promises.
Sometimes, though, in races, it can sometimes just come down to who endorses you.
Yeah.
Which I find very strange. I don't know if you remember back when Kamala Harris was running for president, how all the celebrities were endorsing her and stuff.
Yeah.
I personally, and this is just something that's random that I'm going to just put in there, if you vote based on who your favorite celebrity says you should vote for,
I don't think you should be voting.
You should not be voting.
Yeah.
And I mean, same thing for like favorite politician. Like, look into this person. If just because like I don't know, even if just because Donald Trump endorsed someone, I wouldn't vote for them.
Yep.
Just
And come back in segment 2. There we go. That was quick.
I didn't even that was fast. That was fast. I'm desperate.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First warehouse, most patriotic place in all the land. Hey, I'm here getting cleansed up. You know why? Because Sugar Creek Goods is a great place by patriots, making patriot soaps, making me smell nice. And that's what's nice. Who wants to go down the street and smell of somebody bad in New York City? Hey, by the way, what's this thing for?
250 years ago, a nation was born, built on courage, driven by freedom, defined by patriots who stood their ground. Today, we don't just remember that legacy, we wear it. This is more than a shirt. It's a symbol of strength, freedom, and pride. I'm Steve Stern, COO of theflagshirt.com, and I invite you to celebrate 250 years of the United States with us. Wear your pride, stand for something, get your shirts today.
You know what is more disappointing than Gino Bisconte, everyone?
My sex life?
No, bad cell service. Let's make fun of Gino. Oh, wait, he's here.
Well, speaking of the opposite of his sex life, these people have towers that are huge, and they're everywhere. And while you're traveling, you can use these huge towers, patriotmobile.com/ it bends to the right, I don't have to tell you, TAFW. And then you can talk about me behind my back.
Patriotic people doing patriotic things.
Today is a good day to be free.
It's me, Joe the Box.
And I'm John the Blanket with the America First podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. The Fred Rubino podcast coming to you from the America First warehouse.
Welcome, everybody, to the James Justice Show, tearing these airwaves apart with all the craziness that goes on in the world.
Welcome to the Patriots podcast. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast here at the America First warehouse in Long Island, New York.
Shane Jenkins here with another episode of Liberty's Cage.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Red, Right, and True.
We are streaming live on America First Media and Television app.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Downey Jr. podcast. Be free, stay free.
And welcome back to the second segment of Founding the Future. Again, I'm Alden.
And I'm Miley Ray.
And we were kind of just chatting about, finishing up talking about the spread of communism across New York City itself. So we talked about some house races. And I think something interesting that I had noticed throughout researching was, I think if you remember Zoran Mamdani's kind of aesthetic in his campaign, it was very colorful and kind of like, you know, I feel like the interior designers call it like boho, and they have like all these like fancy colors and stuff like that. Like not just red and blue. Yeah. It's just a bunch of different colors.
I remember the people on the internet digging up his past rap career. That was gold. That was gold.
But a lot of current house races also have those images too. So if we pull up again and cut to this is Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier. Again, this is her comment. And then we have a picture of her, I believe the other cut two. I think there were two cut twos. That is our fault. We have another cut of her campaign rhetoric, which was very nice and teal, and it had a fun font and all that stuff. Same thing, yes, that one right there, you know, kind of gives the same aesthetic. And then we have cut 8, which I believe is Brad Lander's aesthetic. Yep. Yeah, there we go. That's also kind of colorful, and if you see the font that says for New York 10, it's kind of all like cursive-like and, you know, fun and cool and young.
I mean, Mamdani he set the precedent for these commies.
Yeah, like, they're all copying him.
I mean, he did such a good job of like appealing to the younger generation of voters that I feel like this copy and paste type thing is something we're probably just going to see a whole lot
because the younger generation,
because it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
They already believed those things, and he kind of just harnessed those beliefs and ran with them. Yeah. So if we move on, because sadly communism is also, people are copying him, not just in New York City but all across the nation. If we move on, we have the Michigan Senate primary, which is August 4th, so that'll be an interesting watch. So we have House member Haley Stevens. She is running. She's not the incumbent, but she is a representative in the House right now, and she's kind of seen as your typical moderate Democrat. Again, no moderate Democrat is really moderate anymore, but she's kind of as moderate as it gets these days. And then she's endorsed by Elizabeth Warren, who is still like a socialist, but again, like kind of legacy figures who have been in the game for a while and well-known names. And we have a new name. Abdul El Sayed is running against Haley Stevens for Michigan Senate. He was actually endorsed by Bernie Sanders of Vermont and AOC herself, who is, yes, she's still in the House.
Lady from the State of the Union screaming. That video got me so upset.
Yeah. So there was a Vox article written by Asted Herndon, and he kind of described it. I thought this was interesting as, on one side, Representative Haley Stevens, backed by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and the establishment, who says the left is too untested and too extreme to win a general election. And then on the other hand, Abdul El Sayed, he's a former public health official, and he basically wants to blow up the whole premise of the question. That's a quote from a Vox article, and Vox isn't necessarily conservative, and so I think that's interesting that even left-wing articles are saying that about him, that he kind of just wants to blow up not only the whole premise of the question, in my opinion, but the nation itself too, because he's just another communist. So he essentially criticizes Haley Stevens for her ties to AIPAC, and he also has the same two main policies of breaking up quote-unquote big health care, which I think that's kind of interesting, because when you say you want to break up big health care, you're basically arguing for one centralized health care, which is just bigger healthcare because it's just one under the government, so that doesn't really make any sense. And abolishing ICE too. So he also believes that. Again, he is also a first-generation immigrant growing up in America, and he tries to make himself seem as traditionally American as possible, I thought. On his campaign website, he talks about being a captain for school sports teams, and he went to public school, and he has a stepmother who... his stepmother lived in Michigan since the 1800s, which is a little bit interesting because it's not his actual mother.
Some of the biggest tactics of these political figures and things like that is relatability. I'm sorry, no matter how relatable they try to seem to you, this person has a lot more money than you. They do not have the same issues as you. I don't think they're going to care about the same issues as you. No matter how much they might tell you that they deal with it on a day-to-day basis, I don't think there's any amount of relatability that could ever get past that wall for me.
And he's still trying to be this quintessential American guy based on the way he sounds. Because if you heard somebody and they said that they were captain of XYZ teams in school, they went to public school, and their stepmother lived in Michigan since the 1800s, which really doesn't mean anything about him. It means that he's not related to her. So she could be in Michigan for...
whatever reason.
Sorry, his stepmother. Yes, his stepmother's family lived in Michigan. I've been saying his stepmother lived in Michigan. His stepmother's not that old. His stepmother's family has lived in Michigan since the 1800s.
So people that he might not even know. We don't know.
Yeah, people that he's not even related to. But he's trying to build the portrait of him being this all-American guy because, again, they're trying to make communism this all-American ideology.
To run a campaign and to run for something, it in itself costs a lot of money. So even with the fact that you're being advertised and you have this fancy website, we already know that you have all this money.
Yeah.
It's not, the relatability just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it sadly does work for a lot of people, so we'll see how that works out. That's the August 4th primary. So we'll be watching out for that. I think that'll be really interesting because the polls are close. We actually can't really tell. I think the only way that we can really prevent this is, again, by enacting the SAVE Act, which, again, we talked about in our last episode. But a couple weeks ago, President Trump gave an address talking about all the fraud that has been verified and that he's actually found, and his people have actually found in the 2020 election and in a couple other years of elections too. So if we pull up Cut 11, I was looking through the files. I didn't read all of them. I didn't look at all of them yet. But again, yes. So Cut 11, I believe. Is that right? I think we got all of our cuts messed up because Cut 11 should be the Michigan graphic. Yes, this one right here. So Cut 11, I think this was really interesting because it says on November 3rd, 2020, an unknown subject was wearing a Biden shirt, came to Blank's home. The UN SUB addressed Blank by name and offered to collect her absentee ballot. Blank told the unsub that she was not registered to vote. The unsub had a tablet with him and offered to register her to vote. Blank declined and told the unsub that she did not want to register. Blank did not provide any of her personal information to the unsub. Recently, Blank received a voter registration ID card in the mail. Blank did not register to vote and did not request to be registered to vote. Blank contacted her county and city clerk's offices who won't tell her any information. Blank also noted that a few weeks prior to Halloween, she received what she believes was an absentee ballot in the mail. Blank shredded the ballot and said she's 100% certain that she was never registered to vote. So I think that just, again, verifies everything that we were saying.
Exactly.
And the fact that this is 6 years later and it's just coming out now.
Yeah, and it makes me upset that they make these feminist they make it like a feminist argument about voter ID and going in. I mean, women just go to the DMV. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I saw somebody do it a couple weeks ago.
I'm so done with feminism. I'm so done with feminism. And I don't want to see those comments of, "Oh, you're wearing pants?" Yes, I'm wearing pants because I'm not under the old covenant anymore.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
So we digress. No, we should do feminism in another episode.
I would love to
That's
do
an interesting.
feminism.
Yes, it's an interesting topic.
I'm so
but
tired
I
of
think again, the SAVE Act and voter ID is so crucial to this entire thing because we have stories like this. We have multiple stories like this. We have files now, empirical data, and investigations that are actually showing that this has been an issue. And it's really the only way that we're going to save it because I think if we control migration and if we control voter ID, I think those two will work well together.
Yeah, I mean, we've come to a point in our country where we're so advanced that one thing that I think it's one of the biggest issues that we need to nail down. How is it that we have been to space but we can't have safe elections? I don't I don't have the words. It's just unbelievable to me. I don't have the words that we still have this going on in our country.
Yeah, it's quite astounding and disappointing, in my opinion, because I think they're just destroying our country. And it's sad to watch, and we're all trying to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still sad. So if we very quickly hop over to the main primary, Graham Plattner is a very well-known name. He dropped out due to a bunch of sex scandals and a bunch of
issues.
Interesting information about that coming out. A lot of people think that was the party that was trying to get him out because they didn't like him. They thought he was too extreme, and somebody.
I don't know if there is there a too extreme for the.
Yeah, I was actually surprised.
Is there a too extreme?
But I think they're trying to beat Susan Collins, so maybe a rare point of lucidity for the Democratic Party, but not really, because Troy Jackson came up. Troy Jackson is now the new likely nominee. The Democrats are going to have a convention soon, and they're going to decide that for certain, but people are looking at Troy Jackson. So he, too, is quite extreme. I don't think he's that much different from Graham Plattner. He has his two flagship policy proposals of course, Medicaid and Medicare for all, and eliminating ICE. Those have been the two main campaign promises that a lot of these radicals have pushed. I think it's interesting that you can tell whether or not somebody's a radical just based on those two policies. If they're saying that they want to abolish ICE, if they're saying that they want healthcare for all, I think that's just token communist, token Democrat socialist, whatever you want to call it.
And I find it so funny how much we honored, especially during 2020, how much we honored the essential workers. And I mean, free healthcare for all, I feel like it's making a mockery of just what they do. It really is. It's so sad because, I mean, we were like praising nurses and doctors, which they deserved it during COVID. They deserved it. And now here we are, here we are, we've gotten to the point where the left is just trying to strip all that away from them.
Yeah, I think it's even more than just disrespecting them, but it's actually just overall healthcare for all it has this idea that you're taking out somebody else's labor, that you have a right to somebody else's labor. Because if you say that you have a right to a doctor, that means you have a right to their services. And having a right to somebody's labor is kind of something that we already eliminated back in the 1860s. So I think it's kind of interesting that people don't see the connection there, that a bunch of people will say healthcare for all, everybody has a right to healthcare. But then again, that's kind of just glorified slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah,
glorified slavery. That's a good way of putting it. I found that.
Yeah, and then just abolishing ICE too is crazy. So that's a bunch of.
I don't think people understand that ICE doesn't just handle immigration; it handles sex trafficking, which is one of these very large. We talked about it as we did talk about child sex trafficking in one of our first episodes.
Yeah, and we will cover more coming back for this third segment. So stick around.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Hey, Paul, I was having a pillow fight with Gino's wife.
Me too.
Yeah.
She's not supposed to stay up that late.
I have the video. And now let me tell you, talk about soft. When I think soft pillows, I think of other than Gino's wife, mypillow.com. Because these are the best pillows you're ever going to get. You can go to mypillow.com /TAFW. Go now, get your MyPillow. Right now.
Are you a true American? Then it's time to get connected. Download the America First Media and Television app and stay up to date with real news, bold voices, and live events from the America First Warehouse. From national broadcasts and exclusive shows to comedy nights, concerts, and special events. It's all right at your fingertips. No filters, no spin, just America First. Download the America First Media and Television app today.
You know, I got to tell you, a lot of my followers are asking, hey, Midnight, where are you getting all that energy from? I say, you want to know the truth? I take about 25 milligrams of Adderall a day. But that eventually ends, and then that's where a Gara coffee comes in. I start drinking this stuff, and it boosts my energy. It shoots me right through to the moon. If you're not drinking a Gara coffee and you need that extra boost during the middle of the day, I'm telling you right now, get this into your system, and I promise you that it will absolutely take you to a whole nother level. Midnight, I am out. 1, 2, 3. Woo!
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
All right, well, everybody, welcome back. I'm Lila Ray.
And I'm Alden.
One more time. And, wow, this is a very interesting topic. This was a topic very interesting for me to research, because it was one that I didn't really know a lot about originally. I knew it was going on, but it wasn't like one of the forefront in my mind.
Yeah, I always like doing topics that I know less about, because then you force yourself to
you force yourself to learn. You force yourself to learn. But I wanted to start off showing a video, and this video is from, it was released in 1960 during the Cold War, and it is titled, "What Can We Do About It?" So even back then, this movie was made as a film telling regular citizens what they could do in everyday lives about things happening in communism. And there was a little clip from it that I wanted to show you guys, because I found it very interesting. That would be cut 1.
Next step, become politically active. American citizenship not only represents freedom and opportunities, it also imposes duties and responsibilities. This doesn't mean necessarily run for office, although some of you who are qualified should do that too. What it does mean is get out and vote. But what? There's an old saying that we get the kind of government we deserve. And they then add, so whatever you do, vote. But simply to vote is not enough. The right to vote is important, but equally important is know what you're voting for. Study the issues, study the candidates, and then work to elect the right officials. Officials who are dedicated to the basic principles that have made America great. Surely it is obvious that the only way our country will ever come out of this Cold War alive is to elect officials who will pledge to move positively and firmly to protect our freedom, and then see that they do it.
Wow.
That's great, because I wanted to transition into this next topic we're talking about, which is how we should view politics. Oh my goodness. Now, one of the things that makes me angry is when pastors look at their congregation and say, well, we don't want to get too political. Okay, pastors, you are the shepherds of your flock, so lead your flock. We need to look at our elections and at those who are running, and we need to know what we're voting for. It also continues in that film, because I watched the whole film, and it's available on YouTube for free. You can go watch it, and I recommend you do it. It talks a lot about some very interesting things that were going on at the time. It goes on to say, and I'm going to quote this here, "Let's not call anybody a communist because we disagree with them." That sounds very, very familiar. I don't know if you've heard all the terms that the left likes to spit at us because we disagree with them. I'm going to take a few from our TikTok comment section. Bigots, idiots, stupid.
Low IQ.
Low IQ. Yeah. Oh, that one. Ugh. And then we, obviously, the ones that they throw at us all the time, homophobic. I'm not afraid of you, I just don't support you. Let's learn what the word phobia means.
Yeah, I've learned that there is a certain way to be when you are talking to people, because again, from my New York public high school experience, I have been called those things a lot. I never impose, I never am the one to start talking about politics, but if somebody is curious, if somebody knows that I'm into it, so they ask me what I believe, I'll tell them wholeheartedly. I won't leave anything out.
Yeah.
I'll answer their questions. I'll talk about what they want to talk about, and so that means that I've been called things like that. So people have said, "Oh, really?" After listening to everything I believe, they said, "Oh, really? So does that mean that you are a racist bigot? Does that mean that you hate Jewish people? Because I have a lot of friends. I'm friends with Jewish people, so I don't want you to hate them because then I can't be your friend anymore." But that's not what that means at all. And I think that's again a practice that we have forgotten. And I did really like the idea that you get the government that you deserve. You get the government that you vote for, because people have lost that notion these days.
And as a country run by the people, communism really just doesn't fit into how our country was founded.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at, and especially because I wanted to bring this up, and I've been seeing this everywhere. I want to touch on this in a future episode. Flock cameras that are going up. We are, first of all, we were founded with the idea that the people should hold more power and the government shouldn't be as involved. Like, the government should not have the power, the people should have the power. We, the people.
Yeah, the power comes from the people.
The power comes from the people, exactly. But now, I see these cameras going up everywhere. We are in constant surveillance. I feel like communism is knocking its door down. And back then, communism was considered, and Speaker Mike Johnson mentioned this in the press conference we were just talking about. Back then, communism was considered foreign affairs. Right now, it's domestic policy, and I don't think back then anyone would have ever imagined that it would have become the way that it has become.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come to the point where, because let's be real, the New York races that we were just talking about, they beat out the incumbents in the primary, and those are obviously seats in New York City, so they're going to be won by whoever the Democrat nominee is. And because the Democrat nominee is somebody who's communist, we are going to get those people in our government. And so that just poses the question, who's going to be our next Joseph McCarthy? Because I think he was overlooked. I think I was actually doing a lot of research into him, and he's a really interesting figure because he's discounted for a lot.
And I mean, let's be honest, that video pointed out such a great topic, is that people our age don't even know what it is they're voting for. Do they look into what communism really is and the harm that it's caused to actual people? I don't think so. And in fact, a point that was made in a video that I watched in preparation for this episode, Brett Cooper was reacting to a Jubilee episode where American businessman Patrick Bet Davis, PBD, debated, I think it was 50 communists, a whole bunch of communists.
The surrounded videos.
Yeah, the surrounded videos, essentially. And she brought up a good point, is a lot of these young people who are advocating for communism advocate for it because they believe they have nothing to offer. I mean, we in this country, we work hard, and that's how we get our success. Things aren't just handed to us from the government unless you're on welfare. Things are not just handed to us. You have to work hard, and these young people believe that they truly have absolutely nothing to give.
Yeah, and it really is disheartening because they think that not only do they not have anything to give, but they deserve things. They deserve to get all of this free stuff without even working for it, without deserving it. They deserve it without deserving it.
And as we come upon how to approach politics, well, let's be honest, it's not easy, but it's not hard. I mean, at the same time, if you're biblically grounded, the Bible gives you your entire morality laid out. And if you're a born-again Christian and you believe that the Bible is the inspired holy word of God, it's not hard to look at the biblical principles in which our country was founded upon, and then based on policy, based on the person, based on what they believe in, to look and see which candidates you believe are going to uphold those. As Christians, in my opinion, if you are a believer, that's how you should view politics.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything you want to add, if you have anything different to say about that.
No, I definitely do. I think it's just important that we believe, or that we continue to believe in God we trust. We continue to believe that this is our nation, obviously one nation under God. There's like big sign over there about it.
Exactly. And communism is rooted in the belief that there is no God.
Yeah.
So how can we take our country from a place that in God we trust is on our currency? How can we take our country, which is founded in the biblical principles, and take it into an economic state where the belief is without God? How can we take our country from this to let's look at Israel for a second. And I'm not talking modern day Israel. I'm talking Old Testament Israel. Israel was created to demonstrate to the kingdoms around what a kingdom should look like that is fully governed by God. Israel looked around at the kingdoms around them. They saw human kings, human queens. They wanted human kings and queens. So God gave them one, and that's where all their problems started. If you take God out of the equation and put imperfect humans into the equation instead of God, that's when things start to go downhill.
Because it makes us the God. Because everybody wants and needs a God in life. Everybody wants and needs a figure that they can look up to and they can look to as the sovereign, the all-controlling. And when you don't have that, you make yourself one, and that's what communism does.
We were literally created to worship God. So there is a hole in our hearts and soul in the way that we were inherently created to want to worship something. And that's why idolatry is one of the biggest problems within the world today. It's because we're always looking for something that's going to fill that hole, something to worship. And for many, it's political figures. For many, it's ideals,
and it's also oneself. In that you say, I deserve all of this worship. I deserve all of these free things because I'm out of this, so I'm not going to contribute anything. I'm not gonna do any of this. We're all gonna work together, and I'm gonna get my free food, and I'm gonna get my free car and all that stuff. And I'm going to be worshipped by communism because communism makes us gods.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, pride is another big issue because pride gets into people's eyes very easily. And pride has infiltrated the church, has infiltrated our country, and heaven knows our own president has an issue with pride. And we pray for him. We pray for him. We pray for it. But honestly, when it comes down to it, I don't see how communism could ever work in America, personally. And they make the argument of, oh, communism has never been done right. But why has it never been done right? It gives the government too much ability, too much power. And when they take that power, of course it's going to end up being corrupt because we are a sinful creature in nature.
And we end up, if there is something that we can take for ourselves, if there's all this money coming in from other people and we say, okay, well, here's $1,000. I'm going to take $10 for myself, and then we'll give out the rest of that money.
I mean, look what happened with oh my gosh, it was Kamala Harris's running partner, Tim Walz. Look what happened with Tim Walz and the fraud.
A lot of crazy stuff happening.
We're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this topic in our next segment, so hang in there.
Me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic place in all the land. Hey, I'm here getting cleansed up. You know why? Because Sugar Creek Goods is a great place by patriots, making patriot soaps, making me smell nice. And that's what's nice. Who wants to go down the street and smell of somebody bad in New York City? Hey, by the way, what's this thing for?
250 years ago, a nation was born. Built on courage, driven by freedom, defined by patriots who stood their ground. Today, we don't just remember that legacy, we wear it. This is more than a shirt. It's a symbol of strength, freedom, and pride. I'm Steve Stern, COO of theflagshirt.com, and I invite you to celebrate 250 years of the United States with us. Wear your pride, stand for something, get your shirts today.
You know what is more disappointing than Gino Visconti, everyone?
My sex life?
No, bad cell service. Let's make fun of Gino. Oh, wait, he's here.
Well, speaking of the opposite of his sex life, these people have towers that are huge, and they're everywhere. And while you're traveling, you can use these huge towers. PatriotMobile.com / it bends to the right. I don't have to tell you. TAFW. And then you can talk about me behind my back.
Patriotic people doing patriotic things.
Today is a good day to be free.
It's me, Joe the Box. And I'm John the Blanket with the America First podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. The Fred Rubino podcast coming to you from the America First Warehouse.
Welcome, everybody, to the James Justice Show, tearing these airwaves apart with all the craziness that goes on in the world.
Welcome to the Patriots podcast. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast here at the America First Warehouse in Long Island, New York.
Shane Jenkins here with another episode of Liberty's Cage.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Red, Right, and True.
We are streaming live on America First Media and Television app.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Downey Jr. podcast. Be free, stay free.
The America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our final segment of Founding the Future. And for the final time, I am Lila Ray.
And I am Alden.
Oh my goodness. So now we're jumping right back into the idea and topic that we were talking about of communism being an atheist ideology. Oh my goodness gracious. But we know that communism came from a writing called the Communist Manifesto, which was written by Karl Marx. And I wanted to bring up a little quote from this Karl Marx. In 1844, he wrote, "Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of the heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people." Now you see why I say communism is an atheist ideology. I took the time to break this down as one does when preparing for a podcast. And I wrote down quite a few pieces of scripture, so apologize if I look at my notes a lot. Religion is not the heart of a heartless world. It is a belief in something bigger than this world. The premise of most religions is looking for a higher power that is not of this world. However, the teachings of Jesus and Christian way of life is to live as if we are not of this world. We are called to be the light in the darkness and the salt of the earth. So there is probably a reason why Christianity sticks out to most people. And there is a reason why I personally believe that it is the truth. And because, well, let's be honest, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but through me." I actually think I have this written here. So we're going to actually jump into John 18:33 through 38. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this on your own accord, or do others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not of this world." When Pilate said to him, "So are you king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king, and for this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come to the world, to bear witness to truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." A few chapters ago, Jesus tells his disciples this. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but through me." John 14:6.
I think it's interesting to think about that in terms of in a practical lens and in terms of leadership and what a good leader looks like, who really just like specifically a good American leader looks like in terms of knowing where you're coming from and knowing what you are standing for. Because I think the opposition talks about a lot about what they're against and not necessarily what they're for. I think, if you look at one of their biggest arguments right now is abolishing ICE. They want to get rid of it. They want to get rid of things. They want to take things away. They want to erase our principles that we were founded on, but they don't really know what we're fighting for. And I think that's an issue a lot with the right too, is that we get too caught up in these skirmishes and we don't necessarily stop and think about what we're actually fighting for at the end of the day. And so I think that's really important to, rededicate ourselves and, obviously by doing so, rededicate the nation, and so we actually know what we're fighting for.
Yeah. And the part where he calls it the heart of a heartless world. Well, honestly, yeah, this is a heartless world. I'll be quite honest, this is a very heartless world. We talked about abortion and the reason why that they're literally advocating for killing babies but not killing puppies. We talked about sex trafficking. We've talked about fraud. We've talked about so much stuff that goes on in this world. Well, let's be honest, since the fall of man, we've had a sinful nature. I wouldn't say that it's the heart of the heartless world. More of it is the heart that a heartless world does not have. So essentially, he is our savior from this heartless world. He is our heart. I don't know, like, you get what I mean? I'm trying to like take it apart, but
oh, it's very philosophical.
I brought, and that's where I went into the next thing. I said, as far as the sigh of an oppressed creature, once again, I'd have to agree. Humans are an oppressed creature. However, religion is not a result of our oppression. Sin is the ultimate result of our oppression. No religion offers an atonement for sin like Christianity does. Judaism would claim that it does have a type of atonement for sin. However, in Judaism, you have to continuously make sacrifices and continuously follow the old covenant. But it's amazing that under this new covenant, we have a savior that paid an ultimate sacrifice. So we don't have a sacrifice anymore. And we are the only religion that really offers that complete and full completion for sin.
Yeah, I think something that you said earlier, interesting, you quoted Karl Marx, and I'm not exactly sure where that quote came from exactly, but the Communist Manifesto itself is really funny because a lot of people attribute it to Marx, but it was really Engels who wrote like most of it, and then Marx just stuck his name on, which I think is so funny when you think about communism, is that everybody else is just doing the work and you take the credit for it.
Didn't they originally call it Marxism?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, well, there's like a whole thing of like ideological versus like actual practical. Yeah. I think something else that's really interesting is that a lot of people don't know what exactly the nation is, and that's kind of what we've talked about. But again, we've been talking a lot about Speaker Mike in this episode. But there's something really useful that you were talking about a lot that you were kind of alluding to, is that communism is a godless religion and ideology and foundation. So a lot of times when he talks about how he talks with younger people a lot, and he'll put a diagram up on like a whiteboard, and he'll put God, and then he'll put a king, and then he'll put the people, and kind of like that was the old rule of divine right of kings, where God gave the king the right to rule, and then the king decided what people did, how many kids they have, who they could marry, where they could live, how much they could own. And then America came along and we abolished the king. We erased the middleman, and he'll erase the middleman from the board. And then it's just God, people. And, this idea that the people have the right from God to make life and to, pursue happiness, and, because they have these rights to life and liberty. And that's America. And we recognize God because that's crucial to our founding. And then he erases God from the board. And he says, this is really the modern idea of communism, is that there is no God, and that it's just the people. And when you erase God, that means that we are no longer made in the image of God, and so we are more so made in the image of ourselves. We're just kind of bags of meat. We're just cells. We're just here. We don't really have any value, and so that leads to us being social animals.
And that's continuously what they continue to do with abortion, is just to convince us that it's just a clump of cells. And it's going to go further. I mean, how long until, post-birth abortions? Well, there's already people advocating for it. I've seen it. I wanted to also quote something that our speaker said, Speaker Mike Johnson. The reason that we are the greatest nation is because we're built on an entirely different set of opposing values.
And that is those opposing values, is that we are one nation under God, and that's crucial. That when we only have the people,
when we were described
we're just
as
social animals,
a city on the hill, and I'm talking about the church in specific, but it's also a good way that we could look at America. America should be this city on the hill. When we were described as a city on the hill, we were meant to be what Israel couldn't be, because Israel took God out of the equation, and we saw where that got them.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And so in our last 3.5 minutes, I think we'll just kind of summarize what we think. This is my last episode, me personally, this is my last episode of Founding the Future, our regularly scheduled programming here.
And that
because I'm going off to Michigan. I'm going off to Hillsdale, and so we will find a way to make that work there. So I will still be joining regularly. I won't be here for next month's episode. I'll still be joining regularly, but in person, this is my last regularly scheduled program sitting here. So
it's gonna be weird sitting here.
Yes, I am more
very big table.
This is always something I look forward to for the past few months, and this has been an amazing opportunity. And so, yeah, I do want to thank, the warehouse and everybody at it for giving me this opportunity. I'll be back in like December and whenever my breaks are, whenever we have a show, I'll be back in person occasionally. But yeah, for the next few months, that's what's going on here.
That's what's going on. It's very sad. I'm sad to lose you, to be honest. It's going to be very awkward sitting here alone. I don't know where I'm going to be looking at, but we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work.
You got that. I believe in you.
And did you mention what you're going to college for?
I'm going to college for politics.
Yeah.
I feel like if anybody's surprised at this point, they shouldn't be.
You can't, like that's not unbelievable.
Well, I don't need to talk about myself too much. You can check out Lila Ray has an interesting event coming up, right?
I believe that's well, technically that event already passed. It's a very funny story. We showed up here last week. Thinking that the episode was last week. Both of us made this mistake.
You had it really cool.
But I do have another really cool event that I was invited to. There's no flyer for it, but I will just read it out here. The Patriot Church meetup, in which I will be singing a song at. Essentially, you're going to hear from multiple pastors that will be there speaking about our country and about patriotism. This is August 16th, 6 to 7, and it's at the Dennison Building, Veterans Memorial Area Park, North Parking Lot. I'll post the flyer and you'll see it on my Instagram.
And last but not least, we kind of have all of our plugs. If we do, I believe it's Cut 15. We kind of got all of our social medias and websites and stuff like that. So first off, you can find me at Alden_Syke, S-Y-K-E, on Instagram and on Twitter, although I don't really like Twitter as much as Instagram. My Instagram QR code is there. I also write as regularly as I possibly can for my website, American Symposium. You can find that at symposiumamerican.com. I kind of just write it's basically just like a written version of the show.
Yeah. And you'll see my blog. My blog was there, which is, you can find me on Facebook. However, that QR code will take you to the Blogger website. It is a
it's Cut 15 again.
Christian. Yeah, that's Cut 15 again. It is a Christian blog, and it's the straight and narrow to show you the perspective of a Christian teen attempting to walk the straight and narrow. And then you'll see my Instagram there, where I post flyers for different events where I'll be singing.
Yeah, so there we go.
Yes, there we go.
That has been another episode. I think this is really interesting, and I think this is, again, really important topic to talk about.
We could do a bunch of deep dives on something
like this. We really
could,
and we will figure that out. We will figure that out when I leave. Don't worry. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. It'll be fun.
I don't know if I'll be fine.
This isn't the end, Lila Ray. This isn't the end. Well, that's been it. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Alden.
And I'm Lila Ray.
And this has been Founding the Future.
Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of hope.